Yes.
There you go. Says we're live.
We're live. Okay.
Welcome. Okay, welcome everybody to the launch of Inspiring Souls. We're so excited to have you here today on this Sunday afternoon of December the 8th, which it's funny because the launch was supposed to be earlier, but Bunny knew in her soul it was going to be December the 8th.
I sure
So
did.
here we are. It's December the 8th. And we're so excited about this book, both because of the black cover. We've never done that before.
Mhm.
And because of the liveliness and the excitement, because people who inspire us move us forward. And that's what this book is all about. But I did realize after printing the book that it really should have been honoring those, because after reading everybody's stories, it's not just about people. There's some animals who inspired us. There's many different things. So we didn't change the cover because that's how it turned out, but we are honoring at this moment those, not just people. So there are a number of ways that that can be done, and we're excited about that. We're also excited about our three new authors that we have
Mhm.
in this book, and it's just amazing to us every time that we do have the opportunity to help people who are first time authors to get their words in print. And we never want to lose sight of the fact that that is an exciting thing. You know, even though this is not our first book, for some people, this is their first book. So it's that giving birth to that first baby for those new authors. And we celebrate that. And we thank you for allowing us the opportunity to be in that birthing chamber with you. And there we even have on this, there's kind of like a little butterfly there. So this is, you can see lots of things in this cover. So, Bunny, what do you want to add about this book that
Well, I
comes to
do want
mind?
to also, we are spirit led, soul led, and we were having, before our launch in August of our eighth book, which was The Forever Love, which was August 8th for our eighth book. We were kind of in July, we were going, oh, what is going to be our next topic? And I remember you saying, because we are soul led, spirit led, we get nudges and we follow them. And I remember you saying, let's ask the authors. And so I put out a little post and said, hey, authors, or an email and said, hey, does anybody have any ideas? And we did get one. Rose. Rose said, inspiring souls, like people who inspire us. And we were like, that is on our list. And yes, that sounds very exciting and something we would love to do. So that I want to shout out to Rose too for for she's the reason we did Inspiring Souls for our ninth collaborative book.
Yeah. And it's quite intriguing, amazing, spectacular, and all of those words that you can use,
Hmm.
how different the stories are.
Yes.
As always, you know, we say we don't tell people what to write, but it's incredible when the stories come in, how different they are,
Yeah.
more than we could even imagine.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
for
it
sure.
it blows my mind what is out there,
It,
and the things that people come up with that
mm,
inspire them, or whichever the topic is, how different and how spirit led these stories are.
yep.
Because whether it's for the person doing the writing, whether it's for the person doing the reading, whether it's even sometimes for us,
Yes.
these stories are meant to impact people's lives. And they do,
Hmm.
even if it's only within this circle, which we know it is not.
Yes.
But even if it is only within this circle, every
Yeah.
story deserves to be heard.
Hmm.
Every story is important,
Yep.
and every person has a story.
Right.
So maybe this is where we could offer it out to these authors that were able to be here today to talk to us about why their story came to life for them.
Yeah. Anybody want to go first? Anybody? Anybody? Hey, Rose, you know what? This was your idea. Oh, Natalie is volunteering. I don't know which one.
Oh, I was gonna say I should probably
You could
just
go
jump
first.
in there and get the ball started because
Yeah, okay.
this
Go
is
ahead.
responsible anyway. Um, I- I've always found that in life, different phases of your life have different people that affect you. So writing about them, I really think I needed like 5 chapters in the book to get everyone who's inspired me in my lifetime in there. It was kind of hard to narrow it down to just a couple. But you have to, I feel you have to acknowledge those people in some way to say thank you for what you did for me, even if it was just a one time thing. I grew up with a lady who's mentioned in the book that was a special ed teacher. And my fondest memories of her learning how to read and write Braille, not something that I use as an adult, but her telling me the story of Helen Keller and Annie Sullivan and teaching me to look beyond a disability to see the person has stuck with me my entire life. And I was 10 when I knew her, and then she passed on and that was it. But I never forgot the simple lesson of disabilities don't define you, and then I had a friend when I was in high school that was in a wheelchair. He was head of the March of Dimes for our city. And he'd come over all the time, beep his little horn, and I'd go run out and sit and chat with him. And he was a great individual. It was hard to have a conversation because he didn't speak well. And I'd see him all over the city in his wheelchair, but I knew that that man had the biggest heart of gold you ever saw because I knew to look beyond his disability. So I kind of wanted to honor her in that story. And I honored my aunt with all the stuff that she did, all the life lessons that I got from her. I wish she was still around because I have a lot more life lessons I need to learn. And then one of my best friends is in there, and I can't wait for her to read the book because she's been very supportive of my writing. She did reviews on with another author or another person that I was writing with, and she's just an amazing individual, and she has supported me through thick and thin the last 36 years of my life. She's always been there. So we need to honor those people, but there's 20 people I left out because there wasn't enough words. I could do a whole book on honoring people who influenced my life, which I'm sure a lot of people could. And my pets, I didn't even think to put them in, but I was excited that you picked my topic and then being able to write about 3 people that I think had the biggest influence on my life, which is pretty cool. And this is the first time I've ever written where one of my subjects is still in the living, because most of them are all past, and I never use first names because I don't want to get in trouble with anybody. But I know that when my friend reads the book, she's going to know that it's her. So I'm excited.
That's so great. Thank you so much for sharing. And thank you for, sharing and following the nudge or whatever it was that told you to share with us the topic that we wound up saying yes. Yes. It's
That's
one of those
the exciting part.
fiery yeses, right? Those yeses that excite, those yeses that are like, yes, this must happen. And I know that you've been writing with us. You missed out on the mom's love because you didn't know about us yet. And so you've been writing with us since fatherhood. We do have some of our authors who have written with us every single time or pretty much every time from the time that they found us, and that's really exciting, and we're really happy that you were able to join
I'm
us.
thrilled to be a part of your journey.
Thank you.
I love it.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay,
Well,
now come on, you're next.
okay, Natalie, you're next. She's passing the baton.
So first, I want to congratulate everybody. Yay!
Yay.
And then cheers with my
Cheers.
sparkling water.
Cheers.
Cheers. Very good.
And then I had to have a little bit of a festive element, because it's
Hmm.
the city, it's the launch, the book
Right.
launch. So yes, I'm very happy to be a part of this book. It's my first experience as an author. I'm a French Canadian author now, but I wrote in English for the first time. That's funny. So yes, I'm writing for a long time. I mean, it's been a long time that I'm writing, but in French. I never published anything except maybe one little text somewhere, like very. And for this, for Inspiring Soul, my subject was my dad. So he passed away in May, and for me, I really thank you, Bunny and Maggie, because and Melanie, because Melanie, she's the one who brought me here. You know, she spoke to me about it, and I was like, oh, I would really like to try. You know, and yeah. And so yes, my dad was the subject for me to be because I was very inspired by him through all of my life. And I remember I was saying to my dad, like, you know what? Those statue of Christophe Columbus and all of the people at war that killed people and stuff like that, you know? Why it's not you, your statue on a corner of a street, you know? You build your family, you create everything around you, like, you know, you can't imagine a worker, a man with a big heart and you know, with a lot of respect and self-confidence, and like, you know, he went through so hardship in his life, you know, and he was always like saying like, it's okay, you continue, you know, it's like he was going forward all the time, and nothing was stopping him except at the end, you know, he was sick. So, and uh, I don't know if it transpired in my text, but what I wanted to show is sometimes when a person inspires you, like my father did, and you know them a lot, it's not just his good side that inspires you, you know? I really like to see a human being as a whole. So, you know, his dark side and his light side. And that's who we are. We have a soul in this body, and we are experimenting in this life, and we are both, you know, it's duality, it's you know, it's change, it's always, you know. So in my writing, inspiring the inspiration for my dad, I wanted to show that I've learned from him too, because he had some other sides, and you know, so that's what I wanted to show too. And it was hard for me to write about all of the souls that inspired me. I wanted to write forever, but I decided to concentrate on my dad. And I wrote a little bit about what kind of artists are inspiring me at the end a little bit. But yeah, for that's what I wanted to show, like the story of a daughter, and who was inspired by her dad, who was a human, you know, and had, like, I wanted to show this story to the world and how I loved my dad, and that's it.
Wow.
And thank you for that. Mwah.
Yeah, that was so
And
good. That was so good.
yeah.
So I can't wait for other people to be able to read your story as well, your submission. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Phoebe.
Looks like BB wants to be next.
There you go.
first of all, this book was very passionate. I found a lot of love and a lot of caring in this book by every author. I'm surrounded by a bunch of people, a group of writers that have so much feeling, and this book here really connected with me. And I was so surprised, just like Maggie was, that it was so different. You know, every story was different, but they just captivated me when I would read them and inspire me. It was very inspirational. I was blown away by this book. And I write in the one part, I would listen to the teachers, my mentors, family members, and friends who through their kindness and presence would advise me. But I would always circle back to make choices from my heart. This story was about me listening to my inner intuition. And I guess the reason I wrote the story was because I want to kind of wake up people and let them see that we all have it. But a lot of people don't realize they have it. You know, they don't get quiet enough. There's so much going on. You're running here, running there. You have so many influences. You have so many people judging you. You have so much adversity all the time with the news. And, I want to, people to think about walking in nature and realizing that if you just get quiet, the answers are always there. Sometimes they're not the exact answer that you think it is, or you're looking for. Sometimes you think, should I make this choice or this choice? And sometimes it's entirely different. But when you really listen, you realize a lot of times later that that was the right choice. And you were guided. And my inner intuition has been with me since I was a small child. And I think it helped me survive through a lot of devastating things that happened to me. And even I wrote a little bit about my my marriage. I married the first boy that I ever dated, and it wasn't the best marriage. And so I think my inner guidance helped me, find my way through that and find happiness and find out who I was. So many times too, as a mother and a wife and all these things, until you're actually out in the marriage, you don't realize who you are. I remember driving down the street, and I had a really nice sports car, and I'm driving down the street after I was finally single, and I'm thinking, but who am I? What do I like? What color do I like? What food do I like? What movies do I like? Because I was always preparing everything for everybody else. So I wrote a little bit about that in the book too, because it was another awakening for me. And I think we're always growing. And I think if we're curious every single day and we're grateful, life is just here. Everybody thinks, sometimes it's trying to sabotage you or whatever, but I don't believe that. I believe the opposite. I think life wants you to succeed. It's an ambivalent world. It wants you to do well. And once you start having that point of view and you reframe the way things are happening to me, when you give up poor me and you realize the value that you have and the good thing right in this moment, when this present moment, I'm fine, everything is good, you're just full of bliss, and it makes you really happy. So that's kind of why I wrote in the book, and I want to just pass that forward and give that to other people, give that feeling, if I can, to other people.
Thank you so much, baby. Yeah.
Thank you for the opportunity, Maggie and Bunny. I love these opportunities that I get to, work with you, and for all the other authors. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yes, thank you. That's great. Oh, Melanie. Melanie wants to talk next.
Okay. Well, this is my 7th collaborative book. And this time was a little different, because usually when I'm ready to sit down and just let those ideas flow, it flows, I edit, and I send it in. Well, this time, this is not what happened with my book. I ended up rewriting it 4 times. Every time I was getting ready to send it off, it's like, no, it's not perfect, or it's not what, there's missing information. So, but the 4th nudge was the biggest one, because here I was ready to send off my 3rd copy that day. And here I was, got inspired that morning, and it said, no, you need to rewrite. And it's going to be about your higher self, and it's your higher self that's going to let it flow. Well, okay, I chose to listen to that, but the idea still didn't flow until 3 weeks later. And I still recall asking Maggie and Bunny, is it possible to have an extension, which I have never done before? And but on November the 1st, I finally got to sit down, and then my higher self said, now you're ready to write. And on that day, I was able to submit my whole story. And it flowed just like my higher self had said. So I spoke about my higher self and about a lot of the people that have inspired me. I would have needed a whole book or maybe a few books to write about all the people that have inspired me in my life and animals and everybody else, everything else in my life. So I took some of the glimpses that were the most important and kind of put it all in together. So I spoke a lot about my higher self and my journey, and also about teachers that have inspired me throughout my elementary school, high school, and beyond, and mentors that I met even as an adult. And then I spoke about my parents because really that kind of started with my parents when I was a child. And then about a few friends, and I would have wrote about many other clients and friends that I've met throughout, but that, like I said, I would have needed a whole entire book or two. So and by reading everyone else's stories and how unique and different each story was in this book, just touched my heart. It touched my soul. Um, it brought me emotions of all different kinds of emotions as I read each and one of your stories, and even to the three new authors that joined us this time. So it was a blessing to have you guys be with us in this book, and I know that these stories are going to touch a lot of people all around the world. So I would like to thank Bunny and Maggie again for this opportunity.
Thank you, Melanie. And thank you for continuing to write with us and continuing to trust us to be able to tell your stories. That's that's one of the things with us, right? Is we absolutely feel grateful for and we feel honored that, you guys take the time to write with us and trust us that with your stories and well, I love the fact I'm always the first one who gets to read them. So I always love that. I get the sneak peeks. I will say that some one of the authors that wasn't able to make it today, Anne, she has evolved so much that this time she surprised me. And I love surprises, but the creativity um of I don't want to give it away because I want people to read it, but the way that she wrote her story, her submission, her chapter was so creative that like I never like if Maggie and I would say to you guys, and this is why we don't like to do this, we want expansive, right? We don't want something that feels compressed. We want our authors to be expansive. And so we don't tell you how to write or what to write. And actually even with Nathalie, when you said earlier that you like to write in French, there may be opportunities for you to write in French in the future, you know. so 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 we'll see what that happens. Like there may be a need for like a translation, but like we'll see what happens. We'll see how that goes, and we'll see if we can offer that too, because being that we are in Canada, we're Canadian. French is our second official language, so like yeah, why not, right? So that is something that I wanted to say about us too, is that with that above and beyond, for every single time, not only do you guys like help us create these, because without you we wouldn't we wouldn't have collaborative books, but you guys also allow us the opportunity to learn and grow every single time. So the first time that we did the books, we had no idea what we were doing for that first book, Mom's Love. But we learned throughout all of it. And Maggie and I will tell you all the time, we learn every single time. And whether that is, let's expand this, I had one of the authors say, we would love to have table of contents in the books. And I was like, oh, yeah, okay, I'll learn how to do table of contents and put those in the books. And, you know, we were doing putting the author bio before the story. And then I one time changed it and decided I wanted to put all the authors' bios together and then put all the stories later. And like we like that, using drop caps, using the whole different, adding more pictures, taking like having less, all of the things, right? Everything we learn every single time, and we expand and we grow. And that's, thanks to you guys to also letting us make mistakes sometimes with our what we call the Easter eggs. With misspellings, the double words, the drop capping the wrong letter. It's, all the little things that you can find after that shows, you don't have to be perfect for your story to still be great. And I love to hear Nathalie saying, about the, like, mine is like ordinary inspiration is what mine was called, because it is exactly like you said. It's the ordinary people that inspire us, the people who are just living their life, not even realizing that they're inspiring people, not even intending to inspire people. That's the stuff. And so that's what I wrote about, right? My English teacher in high school, who I had, like, for pretty much all of high school. And he was like, as a teenager, when you're 13 years old going to grade 9, and he, as soon as the bell rings, the anthem goes, he closes and locks the door and says nobody else can come in because you can't be on time. Like, so teaching that, respect of being on time, and, like, those kind of, like, respect for your fellow people, who, like, those students came to class on time. They were ready to learn, they were prepared, and you interrupting them is not fair to them because they were, and all of these kind of things. And, like, how he inspired me, even to the fact of, leading to now me being a writer who, like, writes, and he told me you should be a writer, like those kind of things. And so just every little thing, every little quote unquote ordinary inspiration. I was like Melanie too, and I know a few authors who also said the same thing, where they started writing or had an idea of what they were going to write, and, like, decided, they got a nudge and decided it was going to be something else. And that was the same. I found the same thing. And even in the beginning of my book, I say the truth, the honest truth. It's October 31st at 3:34 a.m., the day before submission date, and I don't have a story yet. Right? So, and that was, although that's not, I get to write right up until I have to put it in. So it's okay. But the, still, like, knowing that, like, we've put that deadline on people, and, like, even I don't have that story yet because it kept changing and fluctuating. And I think even in this, our story deadline, at first, submission deadline was October 1st, but then we extended it to November 1st because we could just feel that, there was some chaotic energy that was happening. And yeah, this was like a perfect timing for this book. It was perfect timing. It was definitely needed, and we can't wait to see where this goes. Now, I will say, before I ask Susan if she would like to talk, I will say that I know that there's been talk about reviews, and because most of our authors sell copies themselves, so they're not bought on Amazon by their customers. You can't really do a review on Amazon for a book you haven't actually bought. I am in January, we're expanding the marketing for Add Above and Beyond, and so we're on Goodreads. So we will start having it so people can go on to Goodreads and start leaving reviews and that sort of thing, and adding it to their, to read list and those kind of things. And yeah, so we're gonna be doing
But
that
don't
stuff.
share yet about January.
No, I'm not. No, I'm just sharing that part. So yeah, so that for Goodreads, and for, where you can do reviews. People can leave reviews on Facebook pages. I just know that review thing had come up a couple of times already, so just wanted to make sure that people know there are ways, right? So we're going to be talking more about that later. But yeah, so Susan, I see you turned your camera on, so I don't know if you're ready to share, or if you'd like to share. I know that you're busy, so did you want to share?
I'm just kind of chuckling to myself, and sort of like how this story unfolded for me. I think I needed to just listen to everybody else before I had anything to say, which perhaps is unusual for me. But I find it fascinating. There was a couple of notes that I'm making about how there's a common thread I'm hearing here. One of them is that this was one of the hardest stories to write. Seemingly such an easy topic, but so many of us, I mean, I know I went past the deadline, and we all know, and there were lots of reasons. But I also found this very hard to write. And it's a story that I wrote, and my husband reads them and he goes, "This is awful." He says, "This is the worst thing you've written." Like, not the one you guys saw. And I said, I know, it's horrid. I don't know how to write this one. I don't know why. It's just horrendous. And I went back to the drawing board a couple of times. But there was something about this one that made it hard to find it. And I will say honestly, I don't know that I feel that I found what I would have liked to have found even when I was done. I think the thing that I liked the best about it is it did take me to my mom. And in all of these stories, including Mom's Love, I have not really written about my mother before in terms of her influence. I've written about my dad and my niece and different things, but never my mom. So that was sort of really special. And I think that it's nice that it came with this particular topic because she was a very inspirational person for many people, not just me. There, wonder what the cats are attacking. So I found it interesting. I'm sorry, I'm just checking my notes here. And I also heard somebody say, and I'm not sure if it was maybe BB, this idea that may not have been BB. I'm sorry, I forgot the wrong person. But there's these sort of ideas that people inspire us. And when I was writing this, I realized, people inspire us. But this inspiration is more like this little tiny spark. And that spark has to go to something inside of us because we don't, I'm sorry, my husband's taking something apart outside the door. You can probably hear it. We don't take things without judging. Not judging is the wrong word. Filtering them maybe is the right word. Evaluating them, ensuring that they are internally consistent and making modifications and tweaking them. And so I found it interesting, Bibi, that you mentioned that too, because that was something that really became clear to me when I started thinking about this. I thought of different things, small things that people have stayed with me all my life, but they haven't stayed with me necessarily exactly the way, if I were to say to somebody, I've been really inspired by this, but I've modified it. That other person might say, oh, I don't like that person's ideas because because they have seen something very different in it. And I think it's really important about inspiration, right? Inspiration and imagination, they both have that sort of quality to them. And I just went to look at Anne's story, which is really cool because it's a recipe, right? That is so cool. Yeah, anyway, I think that's sort of what, to me, I just find it amazing to listen to you all say the same things that I experienced. And that says that this topic, although on the surface seems so simple, is not. This is a really deep part of the human experience, this idea of who, what, how we are inspired and how we translate our inspirations into meaningful or positive things. Because I think in my story, I mentioned that all inspiration is not necessarily good for good as well, right? We really have to judge things that spark us. Anyway, no,
Yeah.
that's good. I'm very interested to see what our next book is about.
Well,
Because, well, and I was writing you about what was going on with me. I thought, oh, and now they're going to challenge me to write about that. I'm sure we will see it this year, right? That idea of in the face of adversity, what happens to me next? Right? I had a very interesting month.
yes. Yeah.
Whatever month that was. Was that
And
October, November? I don't know.
yes. Well, and that, that's the thing. Like you said such amazing stuff there. It really is true. And I know that even like at first when I was gonna write my story, I had all ideas. I was gonna say, I'm gonna write about how I inspire myself and that like you don't need to look outside and da. But that, like I said, totally not where I went. But then I did see that some other people did pick up that energy and did go with that. And so that like you said, it's just so cool to see all the different ways and the different and that spark, and it is the things, that yeah, everything that you said is just bang on. And thank you so much for sharing that, Susan.
You're very welcome. Thank you. I mean, this is book number what, 8, 9?
Nine. Yeah, you've been with us all nine. Yeah.
Working on number
Thank you.
10.
Thank you.
I want to talk to you about something I'd like to do actually with my stories, but we can talk about that. Because I
Definitely.
think as
Yeah.
we go through time, over time, we each of us are creating a book of our own.
Absolutely. I mean, you already have 10 chapters or nine chapters of a book, right? That you could put together. And so that's cool. So we can all
No,
think about
but I
that.
mean, because as much as they're really interesting, because they're so different, because they're all these different people's stories, there's also something fascinating about the stories that you eat, like in Bunny
Right.
and Maggie, and the three of us have all done one, and I'm not sure. Is Rose
Rose has done most Rose and Melanie have done like
most of?
I think Rose has done 8 because she didn't know about us before Mom's Love, and Melanie has done 7 with not
Can't
Mom's
fault
Love, and
somebody if
then
they
one
didn't
of it.
know about us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, but there are a few authors who have written. Iantha and Anne as well, who are not able to join us today, have written in every single book as well.
And you
So
start to see something in so there's something in the diverse quality of the stories, and also something interesting in the quality of your own collective stories.
right.
Like
It's
they
telling
both,
your life. It's your life story within stories of telling of even other people's stories. It
so
still tells about you. Yeah.
benefit in many ways.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know that's even with you as well, like you've expanded in the you would tell fiction stories in some, and then sometimes personal stories, and then sometimes fictional stories that are based on personal story. So like you've even taken a creative choice in, how you've expanded and told your stories as well, so
Yeah,
I mean that's fun to see as as a person who gets to
I
see
the
your
first one
journey.
I did, I was fairly, and which is why I don't write in my own full name, because of that first story.
Mm,
Because there was too much about my children in that story.
right.
I didn't want the family name attached to it.
Right.
But it sort of stuck me with not using my full name, right?
Mhm.
And I think about that a lot, how I'd like to fix that, since
Yeah.
I'm doing my other writing in my own name.
Right.
Yeah, and sometimes I've given you glimpses. Actually, I should share with, so Kitchener-Waterloo has a radio show called Reader's Delight.
Mhm.
And if you remember Jody
Yeah.
Swanell,
Yeah.
okay, she started it.
Oh, okay.
She wrote in some of the books, but she started this up. And I actually read one of, so my Christmas chapter,
Mhm.
it was the Christmas one. I read it on their radio show in November. So if any of you want to go listen to it, it is really sort of cool just to have that experience of actually
Right.
reading your story out loud. I mean, 5 people
Yeah.
might actually listen to the thing, but we have the opportunity, like we could they're looking for primarily from this region, but I mean, because
Yeah.
I'm in the book, like we have that option. We can take our
Yeah. No.
stories onto a
Yeah.
radio show, right? And it's
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. There's so many different expansive things that we
who
can go.
wrote the story about the sugaring? Who was that? Somebody wrote a short story about sugaring and grand experiences. Do you know who that was?
Oh, yeah, no, I don't
I love
remember
that.
right now.
I just
Yeah.
think that story would be a fun one to have somebody read on the radio, because
Yeah.
I think for most of us who are Canadian and Ontario, there's something about
Oh, I
that.
think Linda, I think it was that wrote about that. Yeah,
I don't,
going back to Quebec to
yeah,
visit her
yeah.
grandparents. Yeah.
And I apologize to everybody else, but that particular story
Yeah,
really jumped out at me. Like, so there's certain stories sometimes,
for sure.
but I also think it's just because the sugaring is such a universal
Canadian
thing.
experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because when you say universal, I don't even know if Rose knows what we're talking about. So,
Well,
yeah,
it's not,
And it's
yeah,
funny when you say
it's
sugaring to me, I was thinking
very
about removing
Canadian.
hair.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
and so I think for Canadian, if you grew up here in this whole idea of sugar, but I mean they sugar in Vermont, and it's
Yeah, but the Rose is from California.
yeah, well, you might not.
They
Well,
don't get so much
and
snow to
use
be able
some
to put
maple
their
syrup.
sugar on spin the like. So
I
yeah, so they do have different experiences, but for sure, like, you know, there is
what
so
is
much difference that we could do in expansion that we could do in Add Above and Beyond, and I'm sure
Mhm.
we will talk about these things in the future as they come up.
I was going to say, I think the thing with the sugaring too is it wasn't like some of our stories are quite in what do I use the right words? Can really pull at some things inside
Hmm.
of you. Some of them are quite soul searching. Some of them are can be hard to read. Some are very.
Hmm.
The sugaring one was I found it delightfully entertaining. In other words,
Hmm.
it was light.
Yeah.
it wasn't as
Yeah.
deep, right?
Yeah.
Also, I just want to say that what I liked about the book for the readers that will read the book, it's not only the stories are so different, but they have the same. I mean, it flows. Okay, I really like the insert in the book, the little quotes
Yeah.
of people that are
Like inspirational quotes.
yeah, inspirational quotes, because for the reader experience, I think I am a reader too. I mean, it's like you read a story and then you have this quote and it makes you reflect inside and you're like, oh my God, okay. And sometimes it can even make you think about something you want to do or you did, or, so I really liked the whole book, and when I saw this, I was like, "Oh, I love it," because it makes us together, authors, and plus you put some quotes of people that are well known, and it makes us, like it cheers up too, and it's like, oh wow, this is such a good idea.
Yeah.
So thank
Thanks.
you for
Yeah,
this.
that is one of the things for sure. Like, what Maggie and I talk about, and I also added more inspirational pictures to things because not everybody does the words, right? They get moved by other things, and so I pick things that were inspirational for me, like starry skies and mountains and like things that were just
I
inspirational.
have a question, something that Natalie just said. I have a question for Bunny and Meg, actually, and all of us really. So when you include quotes,
Hmm.
they're public domain quotes.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, like, because that I'm struggling with that in the novel I'm writing, right? Because you have to, you pick things up that are really important to you. Mine aren't necessarily quotes per se, but they might be a passage from a book or something that a parent's reading to a child. And then you stop and go, oopsie, I wonder where that sits in the public domain, right?
Yeah.
Right. Um,
But yeah, as publishers, we do look into those sorts of things. So don't worry, we got it covered.
yeah, no, I just
Yeah.
wonder, and I might want to have a conversation with you about that, just because that's something I'm,
Yeah, I mean, where you can always book meetings with anybody, not just you, any other author that wants to talk to us, or anybody who's watching and hasn't written with us yet, they can always reach out as well. And we could take time to set up
Yeah.
Zoom calls for sure. We haven't had Maggie share yet what how she wrote for her. So let's go to Maggie.
The one thing that I do want to share, it's interesting to me that Susan had picked up upon how people found this difficult. I found writing my chapter difficult as well because I didn't want to write about myself. I didn't want to do what Spirit wanted me to do. And I'm just now in this moment seeing the importance of it, because I know with our podcast that we do and with this being live on Facebook, there's people going to see this, especially on my Facebook, because I do not block anybody in the world. The whole universe can see my Facebook. And people are going to see this. And it's important to know that we can inspire ourselves, and that sometimes you can't go outside. Sometimes you have to go within and be your own inspiration. And for right now, I just want to read a little bit of my story. And it says and begins with the question, who inspires me? It invites us to think deeply. Is there one individual, one event that stands out above all the rest? What makes someone truly inspiring? According to the dictionary, to inspire us is to give someone a positive or creative feeling. In other words, if we call someone an inspiration, we mean that they have a spark that makes others want to grow, achieve, or change. And down further, I said, so who inspires me personally? And I said, for me, it's anyone who rises up from hardship, Life inevitably has its storms, moments that drag us down and make us feel stuck. I am always moved by those who find their way in these difficult times, who don't just overcome, but manage to help others on their path. Throughout my life, I have found inspiration in many people, friends who have faced life challenges with resilience, leaders and teachers who shared wisdom, and even my own children who constantly remind me of the beauty of curiosity and growth. But if you ask me who inspires me the most, the answer might surprise you. It's me. Yes, I inspire myself. I draw strength from the challenges that I've faced, the ways I've grown, and the times I've always picked myself up when life knocked me down. The journey hasn't always been easy, but my resilience, hope, and the ability to adapt are qualities I admire in myself. I am my own inspiration, not because I'm flawless, but because I continue to move forward with purpose, compassion, courage, and most of all, love. And to people out there who are listening today, who think that their life is no inspiration, you're wrong. If your life inspires you, that inspires others. And the biggest inspiration that we can be is to ourselves, because when we inspire ourselves, our light shines. And our light shines to other people in ways that we cannot imagine, in ways that we can't even dream up, in ways we couldn't do if we tried. And that's why, to me, I did put some keys in there of how to inspire yourself for people who aren't really sure. How do you inspire yourself? And I did put those little steps in there to do that, because I think it's important for every individual, no matter where you are in your life, to know that you can inspire yourself. And it's okay to inspire yourself, even though this was a difficult chapter for me to write, because I don't often like to highlight Maggie. I like to highlight other people. And Spirit said, no, I want you to tell people that you are an inspiration. You can inspire yourself. And by inspiring yourself, you inspire others. So for today, that's my message. This book, Inspiring Souls, is for you. It's for you to know that you are the biggest inspiration in your life. And you will do things that you never thought possible when you allow yourself to inspire yourself. And to each one of these authors who have entrusted us with your words, as always, we appreciate it. This company would not be anywhere if it wasn't for Spirit, number one, inspiring us to do this. And Bunny and I deciding we would do it, even if we don't know how to do it.
Following the nudges.
We follow the nudges. And that's what we're going to continue to do as we do this and as we grow and do new things. And
so I guess this is our segue into our
new things.
New things.
And I think it's interesting that Susan talked about
Rose
everybody
did too.
And Rose did too, about having your own story and all of these stories combining. So the next book is, do you want to say it, Bunny, or do you want me to say it?
Well, this is the time where people who have been authors with us in the past have watched book launches know that this is when we would announce our next collaborative book. We follow
so the number
spiritual
10
nudges.
collaborative book at this moment is
the number 10 is on pause. So right now,
it's scary.
Yeah, it was scary for us to say it, but we do follow spiritual nudges, and we do follow our soul, we do follow our thing. And so at this time, Out Above and Beyond is not going to have a 10th book for now. Now, this for us was even scary because we've always had that, we need, what is our next book going to be? What is our next book going to be? And we just don't feel the energy of moving. It's not a never. We do know that there will be more collaborative books. It's just a pause for right now.
And I think it's funny that two people in this conversation have discussed, because what Bunny and I had decided is one of the things that we want to do in January and our focus for 2025 is to focus more on helping people to publish their own book. And whether it be your own book of your collaborative stories, your own book of a journey of life. I know myself, for example, there's somebody that I'm going to help to publish their journal story of healing of something that they've gone through in their life. And I'm not going to share that story. It's theirs to share.
Yeah.
But it's about helping other people to become published. And so that's why we're taking a pause, at least for now,
Yes, for now.
in the collaborative books, is because we want to focus our energy on helping people to publish their own book.
Yeah, we're also not forgetting collaborative books because, like I said, I also feel the nudge to market the ones that we already have because we've done a lot of work. Those 9 books with all of you, that's a lot of information out there. Now we want to try to get it out. I'm feeling that nudge to like really push it out and get it out there. I don't know what that looks like yet because I keep getting told it's not traditional. Again, it's a little bit scary because it's a new way of marketing, these new things. Like it's going to be this new flow of energy. And I don't know what that looks like. We're also really pushing our life chats as well. We're also looking at expanding. So even when Susan brought up the radio show, though, that's a thing we've been looking at expanding too, is getting on the radio. Maggie even literally talked about that. Getting on the radio, getting onto things. And I've even talked about doing audiobooks, getting our books into the audio versions, right? And expanding in that because I'm still working on getting a really good ebook, but I'm using the tools that are out there right now to do the best that we can. And so the audiobook is another expansion. So it's about expanding, right? And getting even more. And like I said, it's not, we really don't feel like this is the end of collaborative books. It's just a pause.
No,
We
there
don't have.
definitely 100% will be a number 10.
And before any of you came on today, we were talking about how are we going to say this because we knew there is an expectation. We felt that the expectation of the authors, we know I can even feel a little bit of a deflation of like, you guys were excited to do that new thing, but it let it inspire you to like look at what you can do when you're soul led by your soul. Instead of Maggie and Bunny coming up with an idea. Yeah, Susan.
So actually, I'm heaving a sigh of relief because my
Yeah.
project is really big in my life, and it's one
Yeah.
more thing I don't have to try to honor. So sorry.
Yeah.
You mentioned focus on publishing, but you guys, you're not publishers.
We're not publishers.
Publishers.
Yeah.
Would you go in that direction and become publishers?
We never know.
We don't know. Yeah, we don't know what just the feeling, right? Well, we're going to continue to do what we've been doing, like in the way that we're helping when we help our both BB and Melanie have published books with us, solo books. So like the way that
But you're using the word publish, but really what you've done is assist them to self-publish.
Right. Like it's yes, that's what we do. We assist them to self-publish. So yes, that is what it is. Like that we're not actual, like we're, like you said this the last time too. We're not traditional publishers. We're not even hybrid public. We're some other thing, right? That we don't like we kind of stand alone in. Well, I know that there are other people who do this too, but it's like it's this space that is like we're making our own space. So when you are a trailblazer, when you are people that go ahead and go forth into things that are unknown, that haven't been created yet, you don't really know what it's going to look like, where it's going to go. But like we said, the biggest thing was like even last time when we felt you know, what the pressure of coming up with a topic for a book. And then like we had never not had a topic that we felt fired up and excited about. And then, you know, okay, we'll ask the authors, okay, that's a great idea. Let's do, like, we got fired about that. And then we got an excellent idea from an author. You know, and so that was like amazing. And it's just the energy, just, you know, there's times where like, just like the seasons of life, there's like this may be the winter season, the rest season for the collaborative books at this time. Like I said, we
It's a
definitely do
growth
not.
season.
Yeah, well, it could be that too, right? Like there's a whole bunch of stuff that we just kind of this isn't the action move forward season for the collaborative books. That energy is just stopped for a second and it said, let's go off and branch over here and see what this is going to take us. And so we definitely like, I mean, we definitely encourage if authors want to talk, even people who are in our collaborative, if you want to talk on our Life Chats podcast, if you want to share, it's very similar to what we do here on book launches, right? If you want to share your story, if you want to talk about things, if you just want to be a guest and we just pick a topic that like this is it. Life Chats is going to change too for the 2025.
Yes. And
So,
one thing that I will just put out there, and I don't want to highlight anybody, but if I did highlight anybody, their name might be Rose. I would say maybe Spirit is planting in your own seed to do your own collaborative book. That you could get a number of people that are in your circle of life together to do their own collaborative book and then come to us and say, would you publish and would you help me to self-publish my own collaborative book?
and
Because
that is
maybe part of this pause is so other people within our community can expand. Because I would love, just like our collaborative books branched off of my previous publisher, I would love for other people to take up a mantle and say, you know what, I think I want to do something like this. Absolutely. You know, so if I were to plant a little seed to somebody, that's what I would say. Come up with your own collaborative book, because we all have collaborative books within us, and we all have people in our circle of life who have something to share that possibly those people would never write with us, but they would write with you. For any
You are
one of
so
you.
funny, Maggie. So funny. So funny. Because just a couple of weeks ago, I received a message. I have this book about my son going, and I will occasionally write 1,000 words, and then I stop, and then I write words, and then I stop. And I've been going back and forth this thing for 10 years trying to get it right. And in a recent mediumship reading, he said, you need to write to me more, Mom. So I'm like, okay, I got to get that book done. And I'm thinking when I get it done, I need to give it to you guys to help me get it out there. And then I also thought, I have 12 stories plus his in collaborative books. That's a book in itself.
it,
To
absolutely,
redo
yeah.
that. So you saying that, that's just like, oh, okay, take a pause and we're going to figure it out.
Yeah, that's just it, right? And that's the thing, right? We can take the pause. Sometimes like there is that this is something I learned this week too. Sometimes you think you have two choices, like either go this way or this way. What do I do? What do I do? And sometimes spirit says just pause. Just hang on. And because there's a third option that isn't even there for you yet. And so that's what we're doing with that. We're doing with that, but we do, like I said, we do feel the energy. We feel some energy going towards Life Chats. There's also, I mean, Maggie has some exciting things that are coming up this year as well in her
Maggie is starting
personal,
something new and brand
yes,
new.
and her personal stuff as well. So you know, there it is a thing of like we do want to do it all, but we can have it all, just sometimes a little bit at a time, right? And it's certain spaces and we go through and we follow our highest excitement. I talk about that all the time for myself. Follow your highest excitement. And so right now our highest excitement is to pause this to go off to these other things that we're doing. So,
And I can only anticipate that if Spirit is asking us to pause something, it's because there's something else.
yeah, for sure. I trust in
It's
that.
not a pause to take away from.
Right.
It's a pause most likely to add to.
Right.
and to spark a life, a light in someone
Mhm.
for
It's
something else.
very healthy.
Yeah. Thank you, Natalie.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is. As a pause, everybody, every institutions, every
Mhm.
organization, they need a pause sometime because it's in that space you leave you create that space of a pause to bring more new stuff like you said,
Yeah.
Maggie. You know,
Mhm.
so it's healthy and it's important, and I very congratulate you girls to do that. Like it's a good news.
Yeah.
Me?
Yeah, no, it is.
Yes,
It's a little bit because
it's a
it's
good
not what was
news.
expected. It's not even what we expected, what we had like in every this is the thing because this is your first book launch. You didn't know that every time we had a book launch, we always said what our next book was going to be. So even us just being like, we don't we don't know, like it's the unknown. And so there is a little bit of fear in that. And Betty did type in, be still and listen to what spirit has to say to you, right? Like just that's the good thing about the pause and in the silence and then you will hear that. And so I do know that there is going to be a little bit of disappointment, I guess, and other things that people are going to feel a little bit of sadness, maybe a little bit of grief, but that's okay. There, feel those things and, there's always the and there will be more. And so that's the exciting stuff is the and more. And it is a little bit a lot of us have a lot of uncertainty. There's uncertainty in the world right now too. So that energy is still like kind of the same, but it's all creating new. And whenever you're creating new, that is uncertainty and it can be fearful, but it's also extremely exciting. And so, like Maggie said, we're a little bit scare-sighted, as she calls it, scare-sighted. We're a little bit scare-sighted to see what else is going to become because we know it's expansive. We know it's bigger and we're going to have a capacity to hold more. We just don't know what it looks like yet. So,
Mhm.
So I know you ladies know focus on numbers, right? Because it's no accident that your last book is 9. And
well,
then,
no.
but whether you
Maggie kept thinking it was 8, so
deliberately or not,
yeah.
but 2025 is a year of 9 and a year of
Oh
9.
yeah. Never even knew. Like, see, that
So
stuff
we're
is like the synchronicity stuff, like learning about the 5 different ways of abundance and synchronicity is one of them, right? Gifting, trading, money and imagination. Those are the 5 ways of abundance. And so synchronicity is one of them. And so the fact like we didn't even realize, that 9 is the 2025 year. You're right, absolutely.
yeah, yeah.
And that, and all of those things and the significance of all the stuff that happens, synchronicities in our
It,
life.
it's about letting go and new beginnings.
Yeah.
So it's
So,
exactly
Yes, because
exactly.
it's the end of something.
yeah.
So when you did the whole circle,
Hmm.
Yeah.
now you're ready to move on,
Right.
something new. I
Yeah.
I thought about it too. Thank you, Susan, for mentioning it. But I was like, oh, 9.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, this is for me. I know for me, it's my first collaborative
Yeah.
book. So I didn't know what was the process and
Hmm.
everything. I didn't know you were announcing the next
Yeah.
one and I didn't know the process. But for me, I think it's different for the other authors, and I know that you said that there will be some a little bit of griefs and
Yeah. Disappointment. So
but
it,
I'm sorry for the other people, but for
yeah.
me it was like, oh my gosh, this is so exciting for them. I was like 9 and I thought about
Thanks.
it, and then Susan, you said so.
Yeah.
I think it will be something great that you will do next, Bunny and
Yeah.
Maggie. I
Yeah.
feel that.
Well, we just know that like when we said yes to starting at Above and Beyond, we didn't know what we were gonna do. We didn't know where it was. And that's sort of why, for Susan's question, we've never like pursued being publisher because like we do so many or we feel like there's so much that we can do, helping small business, helping people, supporting small business, supporting authors, supporting, like that's where we feel the best is supporting things. And so even there is, as Maggie said, the opportunities. We've talked about this to people before. If you want to create a collaborative book, then you have what you would do is you would get together your people, you would do the calls out, you would do all the stuff to get the submissions, and then you would bring it to us just like it was your own personal book, and we would do the process as if it was your own personal book that you were publishing, self-publishing, and we would do the support, and we would do the cover, we do the format, we would do all that stuff, and then it would be yours to take with and go with and how you do your thing. And so we do, like, that is exciting to us. That line is very exciting to us. We can't wait for somebody to start doing that stuff, right? And we do say to Maggie said, who knows, in February we may get a spiritual nudge that says
Because
tap
I do
tap
have many
tap.
book covers in my
Yeah.
September program
Yeah.
of books to come.
We do have ideas,
But
exciting ideas of books to come. It's just there's nothing when we look at them, we're like, none of these are calling out to us to say, do this book right now. So that's what that's what we're saying. So I do
yes.
see that it's just after 4, so I'm
Right.
gonna like stop the Facebook. We don't have to get off, but I'll stop the Facebook Live. We can still talk for a few minutes as authors if we would like as well. So I'm just gonna say bye to everybody who's watching us on Facebook Live.
Thank you for
And
joining us.
yeah, and the people who will be on YouTube and Spotify. I'm going to do our little life chats ending as well. If anybody wants to reach out to us, hit up our website at aboveandbeyond.com or our email address at aboveandbeyond@gmail.com. Share, like, comment, follow, do all the things for us. Help us get the word out and help us help all of you. Okay, so I'm just going to stop the Facebook Live.
Thank you.
So we're not being recorded and
No, there, recording and Facebook is
It still
Probably-
says live. You stop the recording, but not the live.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna double check it.